Hi, welcome to the Literature Lounge, which is literally and totally dedicated to authors who write books that make great films and conversation starters. So let's just talk books. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us the author of No Looking Back, A True Story, and it's an absolute honor for me to host Shivani Gupta, a renowned accessibility consultant, author, and advocate for the rights of people with disabilities in India. Her journey of resilience and determination began after a life-changing car accident at the age of 22. Left her paralyzed from the neck down, despite this immense challenge, Shivani refused to be defined by her disability. She co-founded Accessibility, an organization dedicated to improving infrastructural accessibility and advocating for the inclusion of disabled individuals in all aspects of society. Shivani's memoir, No Looking Back, A True Story, details her inspiring journey through personal tragedy, love, and a relentless pursuit of a more accessible world. Her work has earned her recognition as one of the leading voices in India in the disability rights movement. I can't begin to tell you how honored I am to have you here with me today, Shivani. Welcome to the Mohua show. The first question that comes to my head is that what made you write No Looking Back? And what was the most challenging and rewarding part of the writing process? It must have been a catharsis. It must have been at a point when you wanted, when I guess nobody understood around you what it felt like, and that's when you wanted to put it down on paper. Tell me the entire journey of looking back at this.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mohua, it's really lovely to be on your show, and thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I think, as you said, I actually wrote the book when it was the darkest moments in my life. And it was really after my second accident in which I lost my husband. And, suddenly things didn't make sense. Why? Because I've been through a life changing accident. I had a disability because of which, and, you know, accepted it, moved forward. Why did I need this? Why? So those were these questions which were reeling in my mind. And that's the moment that I really started writing this book. And I wanted to really understand what this whole journey was about. And I think it was really challenging, definitely, to relive all those moments. Some moments actually were really lovely. But I think it was also most rewarding because it really made me understand and come to terms with the reality and give me the strength and to realize the strength I already have within to accept it and yeah, and then continue with that strength.
Coming to terms, I think, is the toughest one. It's an incredibly challenging part of this entire journey. So, where did you find this entire strength, to begin the long journey of rehabilitation and the recovery?
So the thing is, I think because there have been two life changing events in my life, there have been two moments where I had to, really come to terms. And the first one was really about the physical aspects of it and the rehabilitation, the medical rehabilitation, let's say, was a critical part of it. And it was very challenging because I had my accident way back in 1992. And at that moment, there were hardly any rehabilitation centers in our country. And it was with a very special permission that I was given admission in a military rehabilitation center in Kirki. But I reached there and I had jaundice. And they asked me to leave the hospital because I wasn't there for jaundice. And so I couldn't really go through a proper rehabilitation regime that a person with a spinal injury should go to. A lot of what I'm able to do is self-learn, and it's been tough. And also, there are the social aspects of coming to terms, and definitely coming to terms with the disability which comes comes along very suddenly. It's like disability is always a they, and now it's me, you know, and that, what does that mean? What's, of course, a very long journey. But the second accident was something that was more difficult. And because it was something, it impacted my soul, let's say, and not my body as much. And there were no bereavement counseling services or something that one could go to. And even if they were there, they weren't really accessible to persons with disabilities and things like that. So I think it was very hard and challenging, but actually, no, looking back was something that really helped me at that moment.
So, you know what, your lesson on love and loss, and like you said, that, your soul was scarred, right? Through your experiences, how have these lessons shaped now your outlook to life?
I think basically love, what I really understood is that it's something to let go. I mean, love is there, but you cannot possess it. It's not about possession. And it's something which is there. It may not be there, but within you, it's always there. So I think it's really made me, look at life in a very different way, let me say. It's not about holding on to things. It's okay. Loss is a part of life, and to accept it and to go on. And nothing is really permanent. So, not to feel defeated by losses, let's say, because it's not permanent. And not to be really overjoyed by successes, because that itself is also not permanent. So, yeah, I think it really molded me, made me much stronger to face life henceforth.
Yes, but it's a very, very long journey. And, healing can be a very, very tumultuous journey for a person because a lot of people around us kind of don't understand. Whenever anybody's gone through a certain loss in their lives, like I lost my Baba, and I don't think I could exactly explain bereavement of how during festivals I missed him, how, a certain part of my own identity was just probably being chipped away, from me. So, on many occasions like this, family support impacts the recovery and the journey towards this entire independence for you, as a person. Can you share a very specific instance where their support has probably made a significant difference to you, or an incident where you felt that you were not being understood?
So I think I've had a lot of family support throughout. I mean, in my first accident, my family was really like a rock solid behind me, so I could do things recklessly. And they have always supported me also through the second accident. And I think one place where I felt I wasn't as much supported was when I decided to get married. And of course, they were all there for me and all those things, but I don't think there was the same kind of joy and happiness as it would have been for another person in the family. And I didn't know whether it was because of their worry with, how a marriage would go. I don't know. I don't know. But I think that's the only, you know, part where I would say I think there was a gap. I felt. Maybe not from their end, but something I felt.
Did you express it ever, Shivani?
Not really. I think this is the first time I'm talking about it.
Some of the challenging societal attitudes, towards disability that you may have encountered. How did you cope with them, Shivani?
Oh, well, I'll give you some funny incidents, but very, very great. So after my second accident, I had the court case for compensation. It's a regular thing. And you will not believe it that the insurance lawyer actually, said that why should Vikas have married you? Because he was young and NRI doing so well. Why should he marry you, a person with a disability? And this is when he had the marriage certificate. My mother-in-law was sitting with me, and I mean, I found it really ridiculous. can you imagine the extent where people can think that disability is so worthless? I mean, this was one of those extreme examples, but I mean, on a daily basis, you kind of feel, let's say, left out because I think, like on a daily basis, even in my own community, like what women generally go out, chat, play with the children, and things like that. These are not things which are common with me, right? So there are no common grounds for me to engage with my own community. And it is, I mean, I have not seen too many people really making an effort to come out and, uh, yeah, to come out and perhaps befriend me or whatever, or to find out about my life. It's not been very common.
So, Shivani, how do you process this entire thing, of the way you'd gone into the courts? I mean, your journey obviously didn't stop with all of this, and that's why you are a winner. And you're leading the example today and being one of our absolutely great podcast guests in sharing, because there's so many people who will not even have the ability to articulate this, Shivani, the way you have the, ability, the intelligence to articulate this. So, you went on to becoming a leading advocate for accessibility in India. So, can you tell me the inspiration and founding, accessibility and the challenges that you must have faced? Did it come from your own challenges? Obviously, I would like to believe that. And how did you make this a cause larger than you?
So accessibility, uh, it all started by one training course that I was invited to. This was way back in 2000, and I was invited by the UNFCAP for a 15-day training on non-handicapping environment for persons with disabilities and older persons. And this was in Bangkok, and I had no idea what this meant. So it was actually Vikas and I both went for this training. I was really life changing, at that moment. I didn't really, of course, I was a wheelchair user. I understood how important accessibility is. But you kind of accept inaccessibility. Well, it's normal. But, that was like a really an eye opening training. And I realized that, rehabilitation was really just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more. And accessibility was critical to enable, someone who is disabled to move around more independently. And so that's when we actually started accessibility, and it was like three of us who started it. And our idea, it started as a social entrepreneurship. It wasn't like registered as an NPO, and we didn't do it purposefully because we believe that people who take our services, we provided accessibility services to people who wanted to become more inclusive, to make their services or become more inclusive employers. And so we believe that people who wanted to become more inclusive should pay for that service. You know, it has to begin by them agreeing to pay for the support or the consultancy that we provide. And well, after the accident, the second accident, definitely my journey continued in this. And at a point, because Vikas was no longer there, things were so different. I actually stopped accessibility, and now I have a full-time job with an organization called the Global Disability Innovation Hub, which is based out of University College London. And I work there as the Senior Inclusive Design Manager, and my role is really looking at inclusive design, inclusive environments for persons with disabilities. Now, at a more global or Asia level, so yeah, I'm really happy about that to make that larger shift to have been able to make that larger shift.
Congratulations on that, Shivani. You inspire us. And so, what would you think is the vision for the future in terms of accessibility in India and globally? I think globally it is little better than what it is in India. What changes do you hope to see, in the next decade?
So, at the global level, of course, the vision is that persons with disabilities should be able to live independently in their community. And for that, inclusive environments and accessibility is really a precondition. But at the national level in India, I mean, I've been to several low and middle income countries. I mean, including Pakistan and, our neighboring Bangladesh and all our neighboring countries. Uh, and what I see is that I think India is actually progressing much better than many other countries when we look at accessibility. And there is a much more focus by the government on this issue. There was also the Accessible India campaign that the government had launched. And so there is a lot of work that the government is doing. And I have to appreciate that because, I mean, as a person with disabilities, I can definitely say, well, it's not enough. And, but I know how difficult it is to create and to change the environments which are already there. So yeah, I think things are progressing. They can always be faster and better. But at a national level, yeah, I mean, there is a long way to go, but we are in the right track.
Shivani, you'd be the right person to tell us about any specific initiative, or policies that have really made a significant impact in the lives of, people who face challenges as a disabled person in our country in India.
Yeah. So one is the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act that came out in 2016. And this act actually is it replaces the previous act, and the previous act was more about benefit for persons with disabilities. But this new act is more about recognizing people with disabilities as well, looking at their rights. And because I work in the area of accessibility and my focus is on that, I feel that what the Act says about accessibility is very good, very progressive as compared to many other countries. And I think it's this Act which has been catalytic for many changes, such as the Accessible India campaign that I just spoke about earlier. And so, under this Accessible India campaign, the government is trying to improve the built environment, at least of the government infrastructure, improve public transport, and also improve the IT, information and communication technology, especially by making websites more accessible to persons with disability. And I mean, from my perspective, I don't think the campaign has been as successful as it should have been, but it definitely has raised a lot of awareness about accessibility throughout the country.
So, despite all the support, what are the kind of challenges that you still face in terms of government policies and infrastructure for the disabled community? Is it difficult for you to communicate when you go across to get any change going? Do you feel that people are probably not completely sensitized? What would you say is one of the biggest challenge that you face?
I think, yeah, sensitization, awareness of people is one of the biggest challenges. Second challenge is really the implementation of, what is there in the Act or the rules, because the Act and the rules are very stringent. They talk about what standards should be used to build environments, by when the infrastructure should be retrofitted, and it talks about accessible transportation. Everything is there, but at the end of the day, it's the implementation. And I think awareness and implementation and proper monitoring of how things are progressing are the biggest challenges, in my opinion.
What has been your journey like after writing your book?
Well, after writing my book, it has been, it's been a different life because everything's changed for me completely. And I had to take life really in my hands after my second accident and become more responsible for myself, because before that it had been my father, my or vikas or, someone taking care. Now I had to be really independent. I completed my PhD, which I did from the University of Maastricht, and which I'm really happy about. And I did a lot of consultancy at the global level. It took me to over 22 countries around the world, working with organizations of persons with disabilities, in different capacities, working even with the UN agencies and with different, as I said, organizations of persons with disabilities. So it has been quite a different journey. It has been very rewarding. I always feel there is an angel there looking out for me so that, for me to really get that opportunities. And finally, as I said, now I do have a full-time job, which again, helps me reach a larger global platform to reach people. And yeah, so it's been very good.
Your journey is truly, truly inspiring. And, among many of our listeners who are probably facing some of their challenges, what would you like to tell them?
I think what is important is to live in today, and which is the safest bet, because yesterday or the past has gone, it has already left you. So there's no point in clinging to it. The future is not yours. So it's really the safest bet to live in today and to be really truthful to yourself. Be truthful to yourself, to your aspirations, to your relationships, to your work, or whatever you are close to, And things happen, they happen with everyone. And the point is, I always got inspired from people who were less fortunate from me and who still continued to go on to count your blessings. And I think it's important also to look at obstacles and opportunities of growth and for actually making a change in your own destiny, So I think to look at obstacles in a more positive way is important.
Thank you so much, Shivani, for being on today's podcast. These words are going to stay with me. Is to change your own destiny, because I think so many women, so many people, men, children, probably youngsters, get caught in their entire cycle of a certain challenge that they face, and we do have the capability and the capacity to change our destiny. It's just a matter of probably pulling all the reserves inside each human being that is actually present, and your resilience, as I said, and I repeat once again, is truly awe inspiring. Thank you so much for being on today's podcast, Shivani. Wish you all the best. Thank you for tuning into the Literature Lounge, which is an all year round literature festival dedicated to writers across the globe. You can get in touch with us via LinkedIn or DM us at our Instagram page, The Mohua Show. Or you can also email us at hello@themohuashow.com to discuss your books and also meet authors you haven't yet met at the Literature Lounge.